As I keep working on my creative recovery, I find myself in territory where I have been before, but I've been reluctant to maybe fix or address. There are so many little patterns that make working difficult for me that are re-emerging, and seeing them now with a new perspective is making me pay attention how they can quietly lead me back to burnout. Hi, I'm Eric M. Ramos, an artist and illustrator, and recently I've completed a lot of projects in a row, some personal work, commission after a long period of time of not working, and I've been writing pretty high for the last couple of weeks. I've been making really good progress with my burnout, and I almost feel like the artist that I really want to become. I'm staying engaged with the work. I am feeling good about it. I'm like really enjoying the process of making my work. However, now that quite a few of my projects have been completed, instead of feeling satisfied, I have become quite anxious. For me, I want my momentum to last forever. I love the feeling of momentum. There's always like a clear direction of where I should go next or what I have to put my energy in. But navigating the transitional periods between projects is really destabilizing for me. I had kind of forgotten about this a little bit because, again, I've been burnt out for quite a long time. So I hadn't had such a long streak of continuous work. And now that I did, and now that a lot of it is done, this feeling is coming back that I forgot, that I don't know how to deal with. When whatever I'm pouring my energy and time into ends, I start questioning myself. Like, I start questioning the quality of my work, what I'm doing, and like what comes next. Looking at this problem now, I'm realizing how it fuels burnout and creative block for me. I'm unsure on how to ease myself out of momentum without turning that into a crisis. When my excitement peaks, coming back to a neutral position is very jarring for me. I crave my next project immediately, and I want to skip the uncomfortable transition period. But there's always going to be an in between, right? Projects are always going to end, which means that I have to begin again. And even though I understand that logically, it becomes very hard for me in practice. It's like I'm standing on a mountain peak and it's so beautiful, right? It's so beautiful up here. I want to stay here forever, but that's not really a thing you could do, right? You could climb a mountain and get to the peak, and you could take all the supplies that you might need, but even eventually carrying a lot of supplies, you still have to like come back down and resupply, right? That's logical. And in my art practice, I would rather stay up at the peak and starve rather than come down. But of course, I can't live in the peak forever. Something I wrote down from when I was reading The Artist's Way was this quote that says, "When faced with a loss, immediately do something to support your artist." And when I first read this, I was interpreting it more like if you lose an important project or an important opportunity, if maybe the project is a failure, or even if you were like having a bad art day. But now I am also reinterpreting this as, the loss of a project that was completed. So, like a sketchbook that was really meaningful to you, or a story that you really enjoyed but has come to completion. Being supportive of yourself when you are starting a project and when you're in the middle of it is so important. But doing it when you finish a project is important as well. You're never going to begin anything if you beat yourself up and you tell yourself, I'm no good at this. This is too hard. I can't do it. So why would it help to finish and immediately think this was the best thing that I did, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do something similar or better? Instead of coming down the mountain, it's like throwing yourself off a cliff. How could you survive that fall? Returning to the ground is not failure, it's necessary. And if I treat this with the same care as I do my creative ascent, I'm less likely to slip into burnout. Every climb starts anew from the ground, and there's always a new mountain ahead, right? And if you want a long creative life, you can't only love yourself at the top. Learning to care for yourself in the quieter times is important too. The descent deserves as much care as the climb, because coming back down is how you keep going on to your next creative adventure. Isn't it so curious that on different parts of the creative process, there's always an element of trust that you have to have with it? Of course, we've all heard the phrase trust the process, trust the process. Sometimes I think there are parts of the process that might not feel like it, like this sort of descent from the high creative peak. So I am now trying to claim that as my process and see where that goes. Immediately just speaking about this and thinking through it, I'm feeling a lot better of coming down from my creative high. If you're feeling in a similar way, I think the imagery of like jumping off a cliff is so powerful to me. So, don't jump off the cliff. Do like a slow descent down. Maybe you can slide sometimes. Like, take it a little bit easier, because the next thing is always going to be there. Yeah, I'm going to stop yapping for now. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day. Thank you. Bye.